Welcome to FFC Top 3, a show where we, your FFC hosts, count things down from number 3 all the way to number 1. Thank you for joining us this week. If you have a suggestion for a topic for Top 3, be sure to drop us a note at all the different places, Twitter, Discord, Gmail, wherever you can get a hold of us. Let us know what you guys think. No, we don't have a MySpace. We do have Facebook.
We do have
I
Facebook.
never go to it.
We actually have some pretty active people over there.
I know. I'm never on Facebook. I kind of refuse.
I'm right there with you, Green. I will be completely transparent with everyone. The only reason I'm still on Facebook is because of the Focus Fire page.
Pretty much.
What about Spacebook? Is Spacebook an option?
Or Snapchat?
No, but VanNet is.
Or Instagram?
VanNet.
Have you guys?
Okay.
Oh, okay. You haven't. I forgot. So you haven't delved through like the 1,000 new entries just yet.
No.
Oh my God, no.
One of the ghost fragments has the pulled pork entry, which is the best argument that they think that pulled pork is our ghost. But the pulled pork. And what?
We're in top 3.
I know. I'm just telling Beard real quick. I'm just going to drag this out.
Yeah.
The pulled pork entry talks about a guardian who is surfing the VanNet. So apparently they have internet and it's Vanguard sanctioned.
I see so many things wrong with this.
Anyway,
Continued.
This week's topic is top 3 video game villains. And I think if Blue could be considered a villain in a video game, he might make it to somebody's list.
I was going to say, I think Blue is number 3 on my list.
Beard, do you want to start us off?
Justin was on a list last week. I'm on the list this week. We're on a good roll.
Yep.
So number 1 is going to be a doozy because he pretty well encapsulates everything.
You're going to start at number 1? We're going to go backwards? Oh.
No, I'm starting at number 3. Number 3 is more because of the memorableness, I guess you could say, of how his character evolved over time. And it starts out with you infiltrating a base, knowing that this is your target, and by the end of it you figure out not only is this guy your father, but you also figure out that he's actually somebody kind of helping you and sort of a big deal. I'll stop skirting around it. It's Big Boss.
Oh,
I was
going to go with Darth Vader, but I mean that works too.
Darth Vader? Okay, that's all right. Big Boss is still one of those characters that Hideo Kojima did such a good job of humanizing over time, because originally he was just a guy in a base you had to go and shoot up, and that was it. And now at this point he's turned into something of like a side legend, or he's turned into the one that you really did care about, or had really made all the difference for everything. For how Solid Snake had to do everything in his life, for how the U.S. government handled themselves, just everything. Long story short, Big Boss is probably one of the absolute coolest bosses, or villains, if you will, by all of it, and by the end of like everything in gaming. Just because his stance means so many things, and even then his stance on politics and so on entirely falls back towards his predecessor of just called The Boss. And she means all the difference to the series just as much. So anyway, yeah, Big Boss has got to definitely be my number 3. Metal Gear Solid, that said, is probably like in my top 3 for like all-time favorite series of all time anyway, so it really lines up. But definitely that one, for sure.
Cool. Blue, what's your number 3?
The Genetic Lifeform and Disk Operating System.
She's my number 3 as well.
Also known as GLaDOS. GLaDOS, as well as Wheaton, actually, because Portal 2, Wheaton is a really good one.
I thought you were talking about Will there for a
No,
second.
no, Will is
Shut up, Will!
Is that Big Bang? We turn.
Yeah, Sheldon.
Yeah, no. So GLaDOS just really because, like, again, kind of what Beard, like you were saying about Big Boss, is like originally GLaDOS. Like, first off, you see her like actually evolve as a character through the game, which is just hilarious in general. But like originally when she was like when you kind of first start picking up that she was actually like the bad guy in the game, it was like this just abstract voice. Like, it wasn't really something like super connected or anything like that. But by the time you actually get to GLaDOS at the end of the first game and then at the end of the second game, like, you know, by the time you get to him, they've developed into such like a robust character. And then the best part really of Portal is the ending scenes where she sings. Like, the two songs that she sings for Portal and Portal 2 are just absolutely hilarious. And like just the personality of GLaDOS and the personality of like Wheaton, and then oh god, I can't remember the other two AI that space. Like, I mean, just like the entire thing that they did for that entire Aperture area was just amazing in my mind.
Yeah,
I agree. GLaDOS with the cake and the
please lie on your cake. Please lay on your face with your arms stretched out and wait for your party coordinator to come collect you.
God, she's so scary.
But the question is, was she programmed that way, or did she develop that way?
Have you seen the commercial that they replaced Siri with GLaDOS?
No.
I'll have to send it to you. It's amazing. But,
well, since you took my number 3, I'm going to make Beard go to his number 2.
Oh, I see how it is. Jiminy Cricket.
I mean, he took it. I don't have any more to add.
That's fine. I guess at this point now it isn't Blue as my number 2. It's just Focus Fire Chat. That's my number 2 all-time villain of all time. There it is. All right. So, number 2 is a slightly convoluted one because it basically goes like all over the place. I'm going to get real Japanese here, real friggin' quick. And that is Xemnas. He's from Kingdom Hearts, and if you have any idea of what's going on with Kingdom Hearts, you'll know it is an absolute, complete, confusing mess. But Xemnas changes because he goes from his standard form, if you will, to his nobody form. And the nobody form of Xemnas also kind of evolves over time and changes, as we find out with the 20 million different spin-offs, because they aren't really sequels. 358 Days Over Tooth with Birth by Sleep and so on. But Xemnas is he's doing a lot of the right things for the absolute wrong reasons, which is pretty much melodrama and it's pretty much Japan. So we get to my number 1, which is funny, all the same to say that kind of sentence now that I think about it. But Xemnas is still trying to, when all is said and done, try to either free the nobodies or become a little bit more like that, to just open things up a little bit more. He's skirting the line between light and dark very, very heavily. Because Trigger says here, I get that it's Xehanort, but it's like Xemnas nobody is really the thing that kind of changes it out, like the whole of Kingdom Hearts. And really, I don't think we really get that information until like Kingdom Hearts 2, if I remember right. Anyway.
Yeah. He is like this background story that you really don't get unless you really start digging into the stuff there. Because you don't get a whole lot of his story until later, right?
Yeah, you really don't. Like, the problem with how they developed him in terms of like a full character, they screwed up so much because they had the potential to like introduce him a little bit earlier and have you connect with him a little bit. Because if you're only playing like Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2 and you haven't touched another game at all within the franchise, you don't know what's going on with him, really.
Right.
You have no real connection behind him. And all of a sudden it becomes a Zack Fair situation from Final Fantasy VII, where you have no idea who Zack Fair is unless you play the other games in the franchise for 7. In which case, now you know exactly what's going on. And Square Enix has this really, really, really bad habit of doing that within their newer games. And that's why I can't wait to get to number 1. So I will shut up about number 2.
Nice. Blue, what about your number 2?
My number 2 is Ganon from the Legend of Zelda series.
Acceptable.
Yeah, mostly, well, or Ganondorf, I guess technically. But basically, like if you're kind of a similar vein, if you're familiar at all with the very convoluted, weird universe of Zelda, or Legend of Zelda, it's really a multiverse like theory in and of itself. But the only constant is actually, or one of the very few constants, I guess is Ganon. Ganon is. So there are a lot of different heroes. There's a lot of different Zeldas. There's a lot of different various characters on the good side. But Ganon is actually really consistently the same character throughout all the games. And they've always used him as like with the exception of Majora's Mask, Ganon has been pretty much like the personification of evil. Like the mask in Majora's Mask was actually completely evil. And it actually was a runner-up for this one, but I think Ganon, I had to give it to Ganon just simply because the overarching like presence that he has in that series, it's just one of those characters that you see his presentation, especially in the newer ones where he's a Gerudo. He's been presented as a Gerudo now instead of the pig, which was also which is another constant, was his shape-shifting abilities. But yeah, like it's just again kind of that just he's recognizable. He's one of those characters that they just really didn't pull punches with. Some of the villains in games, they'll be like, oh yeah, this is a sympathetic. No, Ganon is like the most unsympathetic character out there. Like he's just evil. Like he just wants the power of the Triforce. That's all he wants, and all that. So it's just I really actually kind of like that.
It was pretty gorgeously animated for Breath of the Wild too.
Yeah, it was.
I heard that he was very. I have not gotten a chance to look into Breath of the Wild, but like I mean. He has like they've gotten a lot. I mean, I guess in general, that entire series has been like if you watch the progression of the graphics for that series, it's just it's just awe inspiring watching it. But I remember playing Ocarina of Time like the first time, and that fight with Ganon or Ganondorf at the moment or in that title, I just remember that being like. It was like, this is like because it was also one of the first 3D games that I really had played. So like the strategy to actually have to defeat him was like, you had to be aware of all surroundings. Like it wasn't just the side scroller. It wasn't just, first person shooter-esque. I mean, it kind of was, but as far as like the sword fighting, it was like one of those first entries into, no, this is a complex fight. Like this is a very complex fight. And then it was followed with the whole tower falling. I mean, it was just that entire boss fight is still up there with my favorite boss fights. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how Ganon's figure character, if you will, has changed over the course of like how we've uncovered or so on, how Nintendo's uncovered and shown us more of the timeline has also changed how like everything has been pieced together, which I don't really need to get into a timeline debate on that one, but like
Zelda timeline makes my head hurt. Yeah. And the funny thing really is the linchpin that's holding it all together is actually kind of Ganon. Like if you look at all the timelines, and yes, there are multiple timelines in canon in the Zelda universe, like the constant thread, or like I said, one of the big constant threads is Ganon. He's like his attempt to do what he's trying to do with the Triforce is actually what you can use to kind of bind it all together.
Well, and I think at this point, the officialized, because I haven't looked at it in a little bit, now states that there are 3 timelines within the Zelda universe. There's which 3. Is insane.
Yeah, and they're all still viable.
Yeah,
I don't. Well, hang on. The Shadow Realm might not be.
Yeah, I'm gonna
I think
say
one
I
of them
think that
one of them
might be a little
ended.
off.
Yeah, one of them ended, but the other
Well, I
two
know the
are completely.
I know the one that ended is the one with Spirit Tracks, which is also the one
Yeah.
with Wind Waker. That
Right,
one I know
right.
is at its end point, apparently, unless they decide to bring it back some other way. But the other couple, which, as far as I recall, are separate from. Yeah, they're kind of separate from Ocarina of Time. Like Ocarina of Time is your bridge point.
Right,
That's
that's
basically how all
Ocarina
of
of
it
Time is
all
where
of
they
it
all
managed.
splintered.
Yep, and that's how it all began in a lot of ways. Anyway, yeah.
You guys went a totally different direction. Like, you guys went with, like, actual story villain, like, good villains via
Yeah.
story. I just went with people that I can't kill or, like, have a real hard time killing.
I mean, you can't kill GLaDOS, so that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, GLaDOS is just an utter, I don't know, she's just evil. But my number 2, Blue would appreciate. I put 2 there because they're kind of a tie because they're from the same game. Main one is Alduin from Skyrim because he's a pain in the butt to kill.
Hey, I will give you that. He is annoying.
But he's also a really good villain in some ways.
He is. They did a really good job. I know Skyrim gets a lot of grief for that particular story arc because everyone's like, it was so simple. I'm like, yeah, but the world was like 5 times the size of anything else they produced. So
right.
give them a little bit of a break.
The runner-up, though, like the one who I truly had the most trouble killing, like it took me longer to kill this motherfucker than I did to kill Alduin, is the god troll on the mountain to go see the Greybeards. That guy is... And I know I'm like throwing out our PG setting for this, but dear God, he is... I had to like run past him every time. Like if I tried to kill him, I would eventually get murderized. He's such a jerk.
This is fair. This is completely fair.
I remember when you ran into him the first time.
Dear God.
She was so pissed.
Yeah, I have a sore spot for that troll. It's not even named. He's a jerk.
Oh my God.
God. Leads us to our number 1s, which is less painful for me, thank God. But Beard, you've been hyping up this number 1. What is it?
I'm gonna do my best impression of him. I'm gonna try real hard. It's probably gonna hurt my voice. Blue,
Mickey?
you know that laugh?
Why is that
No.
so familiar? That is really familiar for some reason.
How about Kefka?
Oh my God. No.
The
I'm
Emperor
leaving.
Clown that matters in no way, shape, or form what the hell happens to the planet, himself, or anything else. You got alright, so Final Fantasy Tactics, as we go off on this tangent every now and again, we've got freaking Ramsa Boyolv, who is just all like, yo, I don't care what's going on, I'm gonna find justice and I'm gonna make it work. Kefka, on the other hand, let's flip this around, is the opposite of that, in which case he goes, I don't care what's going on. Period. I'm gonna burn it all down. And literally turns everything inside out completely. He brings the Esper world together. With the standard world, he breaks Earth, like the world apart to the point that it should never have been able to come back together. Like, it is one of the saddest Final Fantasy games ever. By the way, all of that was spoilers. I don't care. The game is really old at this point. But if you've never actually experienced that happening, you go do that. This is completely different from me actually telling you it. Like, that story right there, there is no character that gives no minute amount of more than Mr. Kefka himself.
Was Kefka was in 6 though, right?
He was. Yeah, Kefka was number 6 or FF3 over here in the States originally.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
But he is, He is just one of those characters that I'm never going to be able to get on my head. Like he literally will stay there for I don't know how long, and I will never, ever forget him because of how much he just made me go, wow, there are people that will never care in this world, and he is one of them. My God. I think Green might have had dog problems, so maybe we'll skip the Blue here for his
number one.
Number one.
Oh yeah, totally got muted.
Number one for me is another one. It doesn't make any sound. It just kills you, and that's Dysentery from Oregon Trail.
Oh, Oregon Trail.
Oh my Jeebus Christmas!
I've never completed.
And if you've ever played Oregon Trail, you really probably don't need much more explanation.
No.
Because you can have everything perfect, and you can have all the equipment you need, you can have all the people you need, all the the food stuff you need, and then all of a sudden you get the message: you've been killed by dysentery, and it's like, God bless it. So yeah, you Green, going back to the one that you can't beat. There you go.
Yeah.
Literally can't beat that one.
You literally can't. You're like, it's. Oh my God!
I could try to punch. You can try to block it. You can try to trap it. Anyway, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
What about you, Green?
My last one you actually can kill, if I remember correctly.
Oh.
And it's.
But the question is, can you kill it?
Oh yes, I can.
All right.
Oh yes, and I have.
Okay.
Multiple times because he's a jerk face. Who
I
talks about Butt Stallion way too much.
I was wondering if anyone was going to have him.
Handsome Jack, the big jerk face from Borderlands. I thoroughly enjoyed murderizing that man.
He's got to be on a list somewhere.
He's got really some of the best lines, though.
He's honestly one of the most well-rounded fleshed out villains. Because
that's
originally,
even before
that was before the was it Telltale? Yeah, because that was. I mean, they used every iota of value from that character. I think they kept finding new things to get him to pull him into. And it just, I mean, he was like when he was first introduced, I think it was Borderlands. What was it? Borderlands 2 was when he was first, when you first kind of ran into him, right. And you're like, oh, okay, he's a jagoff that just whatever. And then as the game progresses, you're like, oh no, this is you actually have a really kind of intriguing story. And then Tales from the Borderlands, I think is the one that he got. Because wasn't he in Tales or mentioned in Tales?
Well, he was in pre-sequel as well.
Right, the pre-sequel.
Yep. Like that, I feel like Gearbox knew that Handsome Jack was such a favorite character. And then they were like, what else can we put him in just to make sure that we can reuse his asset a little bit more?
I mean, it's the same reason you can have Claptrap as a playable character in the pre-sequel.
Right.
Really weird.
Weird, but somehow it made sense.
Terrible, by the way.
Worked. Yeah.
Terrible. We'll use him.
He might be terrible, but he's still funny.
Hey, I'm dancing.
Oh,
yeah.
Lord.
Yeah. That'll... Anyway. That is number one. That is our top 3 for this week. Next week...
Did you guys have runners-up?
I really didn't. I mean, Jafar from the Aladdin game back in Super Nintendo.
That's a good one, actually. I didn't even think about that one. Yep. That's up there with the lava pit from that game.
Yeah. Well, the lava level where you're flying through it.
The lava, just the lava in general.
Mm-hmm.
I could quote the one that really gave me grief as a kid from Super Star Wars, and that's the Sarlacc monster. Screw that.
Mine actually, I had 2, and that was the Elder God and the Wheel of Fate from the Soul Reaver series, just simply because I freaking hated them so much. And then pretty much the Daedric princes from Skyrim, or not from Skyrim, from the Elder Scrolls series, but especially Sheogorath, because when you find out the actual story of Sheogorath in the Shivering Isles DLC from Oblivion, you're like, oh, like you actually can destroy everything, and it's like the revelation of who Sheogorath actually is, and like how everyone is literally so scared of Sheogorath's true nature that even the Daedric princes allied themselves against him. Like there was if not to mention, Sheogorath has like some of the best. I think he was like Handsome Jack before Handsome Jack was around. Like he has
Pretty
just
much.
some of the best lines out there, because he's absolutely just bat insane. But
So, one more actually from chat. And I'll just read it word for word. Every freaking Murloc in World of Warcraft. Because if that isn't true, when you get a pack of Murlocs and suddenly they all respawn, run at you, and go, it's over. You're done. You're not outrunning that. You're done.
There's just
Doesn't even have to be in a freaking raid.
they kept
It's freaking
spears,
20
don't
of them at one
Like-
time.
they? Normally run after you with spears.
Some of them have spears, some of them are only melee, but a good majority of them only have can have spears to chuck at you.
Yeah.
But like if you get down to like less than 20% health, you may as well just you're dead. That's it.
Yeah. Oof. Murloc. Sorry, just shivering a little bit, remembering.
You
You know what?
Yeah, no.
I'm going to go with a top 3 next week that's going to be a little less memory-inducing, I guess, in some ways.
Oh no.
Let's do top 3, and it's not going to be easy, because I can't make it easy. Just
Of course not.
top 3 books.
what? Like, okay, you're gonna need to define this a little bit.
Fictional books.
Okay.
I don't care which genre. If you want to include an entire series, I'll allow it.
Okay.
But you can't make your entire series like book 1, you're number 3, book 2, number 2, book 3, number 1 kind of thing. You could include like some, but I don't know.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that
okay.
explains it. Because like sometimes I'll get in those conversations, they're like, "No, series don't count." I'm like, "Well, we're gonna be here all day then," because
Yeah. Series
if I have
do count in my
I have to
opinion.
list out the individual books, I'm gonna have to really go through some soul searching here.
Yes, series totally counts in my book. So top 3 books, slightly easier in some ways. At least it will be for me. You guys okay with that one?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us for top 3 this week. Everybody loves a list.